All right, so this one's for the boys, and the boys only. I suppose if you're a girl, you can watch it. Might be helpful to get some insights on men. But three messages for the boys. So where this video comes from, it comes from actually two places. Um, so again, for my kids, my grandkids, um, becoming men, like really important lessons about being a man. Um, I'm really close with my son's friends. Why should anyone listen to me when it comes to like being a man and or just for the boys or life lessons? I'm not sure anyone should, but it might be helpful. I know a lot of people ask me for my advice, so especially a lot of guys. I'm really close with my son's friends. I have Josh, Jared, and Hayden are 25, 20, and Hayden turned 17 years old yesterday. And, their friends are, they come to our place and we work out together, and, I get a chance to be around my kids' friends quite a bit. And a lot of their friends ask me questions about, women, education, profession, success, life advice all the time. And I was thinking the other day, one of the things I observed when one of my youngest son's friends, Hayden, he he um, he was judging himself. He's 17, 18 years old, and he was judging himself against 50-year-old me. And I've observed my own sons doing the same thing, where when they are judging where they are in their lives, they are judging themselves based on where I am at 50. They're comparing themselves to me at 50. And I remind them all the time that they should be judging if they want to if I have the life they want. They want to use my life as a model, or maybe a combination of my life and a bunch of other people's lives as a model for how they should live theirs and what they want to achieve in their life. Then they should judge me on where I was at their age, not where I am today, right? So, three lessons that I decided, hey, I could bundle this all into three messages, and hopefully it helps. So why should anyone listen to me? Well, number one, I am successful. I mean, I'm successful in relationships. I'm successful financially. I'm successful professionally. I love my life. I don't have any regrets. I mean, that doesn't mean that I haven't made mistakes, but I'm satisfied with my life, and I'm very content with my life. And I never look at someone else's life and go, "Oh, I wish I had theirs." I don't look on social media and think someone has a better life than me. I'm, I'm very satisfied. I'm a leader. I have a large community in my professional life. There's a large community of people who trust my judgment and follow me. About 100,000 people globally. I've manifested my dreams, but most importantly, even in divorce, my ex-wife and I are very close. If I if I when I'm dating, I meet a new person, and I ask one of the questions I ask a new woman I'm dating is, what would your ex say about you? It's one of the questions I ask every single woman, or your ex is. And they're oftentimes really shocked that I ask that question. And then they always end up asking me, what would your ex say about you, your ex-wife? And I would say, she'd probably say I'm an honorable man, and she would only have good things to say about me. She wouldn't have anything negative. She doesn't think I ruined her life, or, So there is a reason, I think, that people would want to hear what I have to say about being a man. So 3 lessons. Lesson number 1. This is a lesson I've taught my own kids, my own boys, And well, one other reason why you should listen. My three sons are incredible. They're they're way ahead of where I was at their age. My son Josh, Jared, Hayden, they're all inc- just amazing kids. I mean, just wonderful, wonderful human beings. Strong men, driven, disciplined, funny, you know, across the board. You can count on them. You know, they all have their own unique strengths. And, Josh, for example, my oldest son, Josh, no one's ever going to outwork him, and you can't break him. Like, there is no challenge you could put in front of him that's going to defeat him. He will, he has the capacity through just sheer force of will to push through anything. He puts his values first. He does his homework. He doesn't open his mouth in a conversation unless he believes he's got something valuable to say, and he knows that what he's saying is accurate and meaningful. He's a wonderful partner. I mean, and his fiance Kaylee, like, he couldn't possibly have picked a better partner. He's got incredible judgment. He runs on one of my companies. He runs an entire team of people who are tasked with forward-facing, media. Okay, and he's 25, right? Jared, 20 years old, has the highest emotional intelligence I've ever seen in anyone. Incredibly short learning curve, witty, handsome, strong as fuck. I mean, all my boys are beautiful, but a man of incredible values. He's 20 years old and he works for an elite engineering firm. He's on the come up. Everybody who's worked with him has said, he's gifted, and actually they all thought, hey, he got the job because he's my son. And I think most of them really questioned whether he was going to be worth a shit at all. Was this a nepotism hire? And everyone is blown away by his gifts. Before that, for a year and a half, he was cameraman and primary editor and creative director of all of our forward-facing media. And then my youngest son, Hayden, has, God blessed him with an incredible brain. He's the most empathetic person I've ever met. Again, all, the 1,400 on his SAT, just, they're gifted, they're great kids, just super, wonderful, wonderful men. And everyone who meets them are impressed. Okay? So with that, lesson number one, that's why you should listen to me, or at least hear what I have to say, or not. Lesson number one, and I've taught this lesson to my sons and their friends, especially the friends who don't have dads. This is why fathers matter. This is why having a father figure for a boy is so important. But lesson number one is, you are not a pervert, okay? Do not judge yourself based on how you feel, how your body changes, reacts, and responds when you are 13, 14, 15, 16 years old. Every single 14-year-old boy on the planet thinks that he is a fucking pervert. He thinks there's something wrong with him. When he goes into puberty, he thinks, you'll have fantasies about women who are not even attractive, your friends' moms and stuff, and you won't even know why. You'll just, every teenage boy goes through this. Every teenage boy, and a woman can't tell you that. A woman doesn't experience it. A woman can't even be your confidant. Even your mom. The fact that your mother, boys push away their mothers when they're teens because of what they're going through with their sexual changes, and it's totally okay. By the time you are 18 years old, that goes away. Your body adjusts, and you're not, you have less chaotic sexual thoughts, and it's totally normal. Every single 13-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old boy, you know, fucking masturbates a gazillion times a day, and it's all normal. It's all totally normal, okay? You're not a fucking pervert, okay? What matters is that you have a healthy view of sex, that you don't view women as objects, that you understand that sex is a thing two people do together. It's a moment people share together, and that, you know, what you see in porn is not real life. So don't watch porn, because it'll skew, it changes the way your brain is wired, but it'll skew the way you look at women. So don't watch porn, okay? Especially when you're a fucking teenager. I mean, Jesus. If you're gonna watch it with a girl when you're older, all right? I told you this was for the boys, so if you're a girl and you're appalled, it's on you. Number 2, all right? You are going to make mistakes, right? You are going to make mistakes. Like, you're going to make a lot of them. And that is what makes you a man. Making mistakes, recovering quickly, learning from those mistakes is what makes you a man. Okay? If you were to judge me today, if you look, people look at me today and they think I figured it out. I had my whole life figured out since the time I was fucking 15 years old, and that just isn't true. Like, I was thinking about this the other day. I have been in love a handful of times in my life, right? The first time I was in love was with my high school sweetheart. Her name is Jamie. That's the first person I ever loved. She was the first girl who ever chose to love me. So like all the love I had experienced up to that point was people who are related to me, and they're kind of obligated to love you. You know what I mean? But the first time a stranger loves you and loves you for nothing more than who you are is a really powerful feeling. I mean, it's a really incredible feeling. And you learn a lot about yourself during that first love. You learn that if you don't love yourself, you don't believe you're worthy of love, then you're not going to allow someone to love you, number one. You're going to push them away subconsciously, and so you want to make sure you love yourself before you let someone try and love you. But the first time I was in love was my high school sweetheart, Jamie. And in that relationship, we were together like a year and a half maybe. And I made a ton of mistakes in that relationship, things I would never do today. Like, both in my own actions, but also in the way that I carried myself. For example, I was told that my job as a man in a relationship was to be sensitive and talk about my feelings and be close, and men and women are the same, and all of that's bullshit. All right? I mean, that doesn't mean never share your feelings with your partner, but you want to do that judiciously. You're a man. The very first girl I ever, she lost respect for me because I shared too much, maybe. I don't know. But I was lucky. I got to learn that at 18, 19 years old. When we broke up, that was a hard breakup for me. I went through a whole year of just, I was fucked up. Because when the first person who chooses to love you doesn't want to be with you anymore, and that's actually the only person who's ever broken up with me in my whole life, is my first girlfriend. And I mean, literally, the rest of my life, no one has ever broken up with me. Literally just my first girlfriend. And I learned that lesson. That doesn't mean that I didn't share my feelings with future partners, but I was a lot more I kept in mind what it is they fell in love with and what attracted them to me. So if that was sense of humor or my brain. I get that one a lot. I remembered that. But a lot of women who are attracted to me because of my ability to solve problems. They can trust that they're going to be safe with me. Like there's not going to be a crisis that pops up that I'm not going to be able to handle. And I just kept that in mind going forward. So I made a lot of mistakes in my first relationship. Like if you were to, if you're an 18 or 19-year-old guy and you look at me today, you would be like, oh, he's got it all figured out. And, what the fuck am I? Well, if you compared me at 18 or 19, I basically, my freshman year in college is the year that women were attracted to me. Like before that, I didn't really feel like women were. But my freshman year in college, I grew 4 inches. I started lifting weights. I paid a lot more attention to fashion. I was already a good dancer. I mean, I was already outgoing and people could have fun with me. But it seemed like my freshman year in college was when essentially any girl I was attracted to was attracted back to me. It didn't seem like there was a girl who wasn't attracted to me back then. But that wasn't normal for me, and it felt very uncomfortable. And that year after my breakup with my high school sweetheart was a year of 2 things: me getting over that pain, and it was excruciating. I mean, it was excruciating. And in a lot of ways, I didn't think I would survive it, although I never consciously thought that. Now that I look back on it, I'm like, Jesus, breakups are hard. And like if you go through a breakup, they're not easy. But the advice in a breakup, if a girl tells you she's not into you, the best thing you can do is move on. And no one wants to hear it. You can't save it with love. You can't save it with doting. You can't save it. What you say is, I respect that, and you move on and you don't look back. If you want her back and you want to win her back, you do it by moving on and not looking back and focusing on your purpose and making you the center of your life. The second serious relationship I was in was with the girl I thought I would marry. I never actually thought to ask her to marry me, but when we first started dating, she was a girl I went to high school with. She was a little older than me. I always had a crush on her. And when she and I started dating, she moved when I transferred schools and moved to North Carolina. She came with me, and we were together 4 or 5 years. It was all through college. I was with her after my freshman year, and legitimately, she was one of the, probably not one of, she probably is the most wonderful human being I ever met in my entire life. Like, and I was not a good boyfriend to her. Like, I tried to be, but I just was not equipped at that point in my life. At 20 years old, I mean, I turned 21 while I was with her, and I just wasn't equipped. And she was an incredible human being. And to this day, probably, I mean, certainly if someone were to ask me to pick the 5 most wonderful human beings I've ever met in my whole life, she's one of those 5. I was not a good boyfriend to her, and there was a period of time, maybe 3 years in, when I realized, we don't belong together. There were a couple things going on. Like, I was afraid that I wanted to be a dad. I knew I wanted to be a father. And I was afraid she couldn't have kids. She was afraid she couldn't have kids also. And that really scared me. I mean, really scared me. But I also had my own shit going on. I was still resolving everything I had gone through with my mom. The kicker, what happened, I did a bunch of stupid stuff. I broke up with her a couple of times and moved out, but we always ended up back together. She never did stupid shit while we were broke up. She didn't, she's just a wonderful, gentle, kind, nurturing, beautiful human being. Okay, and honestly, at that time of my life, I did not deserve her at all. um, I decided to break up with her once I realized I wasn't going to marry her, and that she deserved to, someone who was going to marry her. I realized I wasn't going to marry her, and the decision I made to not marry her was based around not who she was as a human being, but about I didn't think she was going to be able to make my life better because of how, in the ways that I was broken at that time. So, my senior year in college, I wrote a paper. I took abnormal psych as one of my electives. I wrote a paper comparing my brother, Jerry, and myself on how we handled our mom's murder. And it was a nature versus nurture argument. And where the nurture would be the psychological component and nature would be the biological component. And as part of that, I took a trip back to New York. We were in North Carolina. I took a trip back to New York and I did a bunch of research on my mom's murder. Like, I knew up until that time, I went there and spent a week there, 3 days in the public library, various public libraries, Cortland County, Tompkins County. I read every newspaper article over like a 2-year period. If you've never gone through that experience, I encourage you to do it. It's pretty weird to go back and, this is almost 18 years after she got killed. 16 years. I had a chance to meet with the district attorney in Tompkins County, and he put this whole file together from the case. They had crime scene photos, and they went and got it out of storage, and he spent like 5 hours with me on a weekend. On Saturday, I moved my flight, and it fucked me up. Like, I saw photos of my mom's autopsy, like her head cut open, and I mean, he asked me, "Are you sure you want to see these things?" And I said yes. But it really fucked me up. And when I went back to North Carolina, my girlfriend, she could tell I was fucked up, and she wanted to help me, but she couldn't. And I realized she couldn't. I realized that I was broken in a way, or I had gone through a trauma that she would never be able to appreciate. And so I would either, and it's not that she didn't care, she cared immensely. But the pain on her face that, like, I could see, this is like in November, beginning of November, and the pain on her face that she wanted to help me and she couldn't. And I'm like carrying this burden with me, like seeing, this, and I'm 23 at this time. And, we've been together since I was 19, 20. And I loved her very much. Love was not the issue. I just realized she can't relate to it, so how could she help me? And how could we be together? And like within a month, I decided I would break up with her. And I broke up with her in December, and I met the woman I would marry 6 months later, 7 months later. But in between that time, I started seeing a girl I knew. I had known her maybe 8 months or something. I started seeing her after February, and she got pregnant right away, like immediately. And so I'm dealing with these emotions. I'm dealing with these emotions from what happened with my mom. I break up with my girlfriend. I start seeing this other girl, and she gets pregnant. And, and my original plan was I'm going to, quote unquote, do the right thing, but I just resolved that I'm gonna marry her. and you know, and so I'm finishing school. I moved back to New York in May. So she's going to come with me, but she doesn't come right away. She stays to work, and I move back to New York, and I bring all of her stuff with me. My brother just bought a house. I'm going to help him renovate it, and I store her stuff. It's like washing machine, bed, you know, in my brother's house. And very quickly, she and I grow apart. Like, I was not in love with her. I cared about her. I enjoyed her company, but I wasn't in love with her. Like, I can't say, you know, I wasn't in love with her, but I was going to marry her. And once I was in New York, we just drifted apart right away. And, you know, within 3 weeks, like, we went from talking every day to talking every few days to not talking. And, you know, that period of my life from, you know, I'm 23, I turned 24. That period of my life from when I wrote that paper the previous fall, broke up with my girlfriend, I never called her my girlfriend, but get this girl I'm seeing pregnant, moving back home. I drive a $50 Ford Festiva. I have a degree and no job. I'm making $100 a week working in a deli, living with my brother, my younger brother. And then I meet who becomes my wife. And suddenly I felt normal. And the reason why was because she had suffered incredible trauma as a kid too. Her mom died when she was 13 from HIV, which she got from her own husband, who was a drug addict and philanderer. She had to watch her mom die from the time she was like 8 until she was 13. She had to be the one to like tell the hospital, you know, her mom was abusive. She went through a period of a couple of years just fighting, you know, literally fighting, sleeping on friends' couches, and then she gets adopted, you know, at like 16. And her adopted parents, you know, she was a handful. But the truth is that under the hood, she was in this incredible human being. So there was this 80, 90% of amazing, 90% of amazing, and 10% of blowing her life up. You know what I mean? But the reality is that I could relate to what she had been through, and therefore I could put a lot of her behaviors into context, and she could relate to what I had been through. I was further ahead than her. I didn't blow shit up the way she did, but I had the potential. My inability to get through my emotional baggage from my mom dying cost me my relationship with my girlfriend. And the me being a man part was recognizing I can't marry her. It was me recognizing I can't marry her. And it took me a month to knowing it was going to fucking hurt. And believe me, it hurt. It hurt bad. And then to know that I was the one who, you know, I did it. But I moved on. That's what you do. My son Josh, that's his mother, the girl that I dated and got pregnant in between my girlfriend and the woman who would become my wife. And that was, you know, there's a whole history in there where my brother's house gets foreclosed on. Her stuff is in her house. That stuff becomes the property of the bank. The only way that I'm going to be able to get it is to like go to an auction and buy her shit. I make $100 a week, you know, and it's, you know, I lost all of her shit. You know, she lost her, like her heirloom, her masks that she collected, and, you know, I felt that fucking big. So the point is it's not the mistakes you make that matter. It's how you learn from them and what you do in the wake. So what did I do to make it up to her? Well, I've done everything in my power to, she and I have a wonderful relationship as parents of Josh. Like, I've always given her all the credit for the amazing human being he is. You know, Josh didn't come live with me until he was 19, after he graduated from high school. When we were working out the arrangement so that I could see him, one of the deals was she made me promise her I would never try to take him from her. And I kept that promise. In fact, for the rest of our lives, I have kept every single promise I've made her. And if I've had to choose between keeping a promise to her or keeping a promise to even my own wife, I kept a promise to her, because I owed her for what I lost her shit. And I feel this fucking big. She's been on my cell phone plan since Josh was like 10 years old. So for like 15 years, I've been paying for her cell phone. And the reason why is because it's like a little gesture of, how do I make it up to you? You know, it's every time publicly we talk about how amazing Josh is, I always give her credit. I'm always like, you did good, not me. I didn't do it. You did it. That's learning from your mistake and trying to make up for it. You know, so don't judge yourself based on the mistakes you've made. Hold yourself accountable. Learn from them. But don't, I mean, I'm telling you all this stuff because later in life, when anyone looks at my life now, or they judge my life at the end of my life, I'm probably going to be judged on my greatest accomplishments. Like what I've done in my industry, you know, unified namespace, the kids that I've raised, the teams I've built, the wealth I've accumulated. I'm going to be judged on those things. But I think it is unfair for people to think that I've always been that way. That I just came out of the womb fucking hitting 5-run home runs. I didn't. It was a process. It was you know, humility is knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. And surrounding yourself with people who are good at the things you're not, and mastering the things you are good at. And I always wanted to be good at admitting I was wrong. You know, as a father, I tell my boys this all the time. When you're a leader, when you're raising kids, when you're a leader, it is absolutely important that when you are wrong, you admit it. And you don't let anyone let you off the hook. So if I fuck up, you know, I use conflict theory. So I'll push buttons. I'll raise my voice. I'll impose my will. I will cut with words to motivate. And it works. Believe me, it works. Okay? If it didn't work, I wouldn't do it. But if I go too far, or I'm wrong, I apologize for it. There's nobody in my life who's going to tell you I don't. I go right to them, I look them dead in the fucking eyes, and I say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And when they say, it's okay, I say, no, it's not. I was wrong. I'm sorry. A man doesn't let someone let them off the hook when they fucked up. If you want to be a man of purpose, a man that people are going to look up to, you have to be the person who accepts responsibility and accountability. If you're going to get the credit for your successes, you have to accept accountability for the failures. Because you won't get to the success piece if you won't do that. Right? And I believe it is made all the difference in my life. You know, not making excuses, just accepting that I fucked up. You know, in the gym, I can't make excuses. If I'm going to try and bench press 450 pounds, and on that day I can only push 440, and I know the reason is I didn't get enough sleep and I haven't been eating right, I missed my protein intake 3 days in a row, that's all on me. I can't go in and come up with some other reason so that I don't hold myself accountable for the fact that I didn't sleep right and I missed my protein 3 days in a row. Okay? I have to accept responsibility. You do too. Okay? You're gonna fuck up. You're gonna fail. Don't let that defeat you. You make it right. You accept responsibility. You make it right. You learn from the lesson and move on. Beat yourself up if you fuck up in the same way more than once. All right, lesson number 3. You must chase excellence in everything you do. Okay? If you're not going to try and do something excellent, don't do it at all. Don't invest any energy in it at all if you're not going to try and do it with excellence. Okay? The gifts that you are born with. Like I was born with some things I was born with. I was born with rhythm. Like I didn't teach rhythm. It was gifted to me by God, right? So I can play the drums, I can dance, I can sing. That's a gift. So if I'm gonna use those gifts, then I have to maximize them to the best of my ability. Otherwise, they were wasted on me. Okay? I have to accept responsibility for the outcomes of my life. If I'm fat, it's my fault. I eat too much, not exercise enough. If I'm broke, I didn't work hard enough. I didn't learn how to use money. I don't understand financial discipline. I have not leveraged the gifts that were blessed upon me to turn those into value in the market that I can benefit from, right? That's on me. If I'm alone and no one wants to be with me, then I really need to take inventory as to, what am I doing wrong that makes me alone? Not what's wrong with everybody else. I'm since my high school girlfriend, no one has ever broken up with me. Since I know that I'm doing the right things because people in my industry, my kids look up to me. My ex-wife respects me. My siblings turn to me when things get tough. My team counts on me. The women I meet and date want to be with me. They want to date me. They want to be in a relationship with me. I know I'm doing those feedbacks help me gauge, have I been pursuing excellence in the way that I should be? Right? It's really hard to talk about this without sounding like a douche, but I'm trying to word it in a way where I don't sound like a douche. It's pursue excellence. Okay? Pursue excellence. Your focus, I'll say the biggest mistake I see men make. It's not the biggest. It's one of the biggest. The biggest mistake I see men make is the worst thing that could happen to a dude, honestly, is to be raised exclusively by their mom. Not that a mom doesn't love, mothers do their best. A mom can't teach you to be a man. Like, only a man can teach you to be a man. No matter how hard she tries. And believe me, she'll try. Your mom loves you. Okay? She loves you very much. But she's lying to herself if she thinks she can teach you to be a man. What she's going to do is teach you to try to be the husband she thinks she wants. The problem is that if you're a guy and you want to know what women want in men, the last people you should ask are women. Because women will tell you one thing about what they're looking for in men, but their behaviors say something exactly the opposite. Like, for example, women want strength and provision and stoicism. But they also want you to be able to express your emotions in the right moment. But they don't want you to express your emotions in the wrong moment. They want you to save them from themselves, from their own feelings, their own whimsy, right? Whether a woman likes it or not, she's going to be impressed by how built you are, how other people view you. It's called pre-selection. Like a woman will be attracted to a man that other people are drawn to. I think we're the same way with women, but I'm talking to guys here. But a woman doesn't, she'll tell you she wants to be the number one priority in your life, but that isn't what she actually means. She wants to be number two in your life after your purpose. Okay? Pursue excellence. Pursue excellence. And let me tell you this last story, okay? We'll summarize this. Number one, you're not a pervert, okay? As if you're a young kid, if you're 12, 13, 14 and you don't have a strong man in your life, you need to find a strong man in your life, whether that's a coach, a teacher, a friend's dad. You need that strong man in your life, okay? If you're a mother who's raising a son by yourself, you need to find the strong man, whether coach, scout leader, whatever. Make sure he's not a pervert. Number two, don't beat yourself up for failure. Own it, learn from it, and move on. Even I told you very personal stories about my life to show others that where I am in my life is because a lot of the mistakes I made when I was younger. I had my 23 to 24 year, from the end of 23, which was 97 for me, to the to 24 to July of when I was 24, which was 1998. That was 9, 10, 11 months of fucking hell for me. 9, 10, 11 months. It could have broken me, could have broken other people. I went through two periods of my life, from my high school girlfriend breaking up with me. That year was fucking hell. And then the year after I broke up with my girlfriend, that 9, 10 months was fucking hell. It was hell. Okay? But I made the most of both situations. The second situation with Josh, his mom, I did a much better job. Because I didn't let it break me. I owned up to, I didn't handle that situation the way I should have handled it. But I did everything in my power to make it up to her. Even to this day, I still do everything in my power. And even though she doesn't expect it from me anymore, we're good. And number three, pursue excellence. But let me tell you this. When my divorce was 2 years ago. It actually 2 years ago, starting like right now. And before that, it was a 4-year period of counseling and, trying to make it work. And I only ever wanted to be married once. Like, I'm not going to get married again. And I'll never be married again. And I wanted to be married one time. And I always wanted to be a dad. And I always wanted my kids to have their parents together forever. But I didn't want to be divorced, and I wasn't going to beg my ex-wife to stay. The moment she told me, I don't want to be married to you anymore, that she had never said that. 25 years together, she never said, I don't want to be with you. She never said, I don't want to be married to you. And I gave her another week or so to make sure she was serious, and then we divorced. I didn't beg her. I didn't cry to her. Nothing. I moved on. I didn't look back. And I was fair during the divorce. I gave her the house in New York. We didn't fight over anything. I was going to die on two hills: my companies and my kids. I wanted custody of my kids, and I wanted my companies, my brand, because my personal brand, my whole life is tied up in these companies I've built, and those companies are dependent upon me, Walker Reynolds, this subject matter expert in digital transformation. And she was fair. We were fair. 7 months later, she reached out to me after our divorce was finalized and asked me to go on a trip with her and see if we can't make it work. And I said, sure, let's do it. And that was after I'd been dating. I'd been dating, and I dated casually after my divorce because I have other things going on. What I was really looking for was, I need, hey, if I'm going to go to the opera, or I'm going to go to the symphony, or I'm going to, or I've got an event I need to go to and I need a +1, I was looking for a person to be a +1. I wasn't looking for a wife. I wasn't looking for, and in all of my exchanges with women, when I would meet someone, that was really my attitude. It wasn't like, hey, you're not going to be the most important thing in my life. I have all this other stuff going on. And every single woman that I went out with either fell in love. This is, my kids and I joke about this. They either fell in love or they, wanted to fall in love. Every one. And I wasn't doing anything. I was just I was being who I am, the human being I am. I was talking to them with intention. I wasn't, just trying to sleep with them or whatever. And then I had my life going on. And they were incredibly attracted to my pursuit of excellence. They were attracted to how wonderful my kids are. And so for you guys, if your goal in life is to be a man of purpose, someone people respect, someone you respect, someone your kids respect, the kind of guy that women want to be with and other men want to be, then remember this. Every single one of us thinks that we're a fucking pervert when we're 13, 14, 15 years old. Every single one of us failed along the way. The difference is some of us learn and some of us don't. Some of us make up for it, some of us don't. And number 3, most importantly, all of us, all the guys that you want to be, we all pursue excellence. We master the art of the gifts we were blessed with, and we surround ourselves with people who are good at the things we're not. It's that simple. It's that simple. So what do you do today? Okay? Today, number 1, you are going to take assessment of what am I good at? What gifts do I have? My son Hayden has a really close friend who what he should say is his gift is he's got the gift of Riz. He's a very, very charismatic kid. He knows how to talk to people. He's comfortable talking to people. He has high emotional intelligence, and he has a good sense of humor. When people are near him, they want to be closer. Okay? He's got the gift of Riz. He has to lean into that. Where am I going to benefit? Where can I take that gift and really maximize it? Well, it's going to be on radio, on TV. It's going to be in business development. It's going to be in forward-facing roles. It's going to be in roles where it's about relationships and not so much about outcomes. It's raining like a motherfucker. Welcome to Dallas. Take inventory of what your gifts are. But also try to remember the last time you really fucked up. Like you really fucked up. I made a mistake, I failed, I hurt somebody, whatever it is. And what did you do? How did you respond to that? Okay? And then ask yourself this one last question. Do I pursue excellence? And if I don't, what do I need to pursue excellence starting tomorrow? What is it I need to be doing in order to pursue excellence? All right? Hopefully that's helpful. This is like my great grandkids watching this. Believe it or not, I didn't always have it figured out. Okay, I made lots of mistakes. Lots of mistakes. Mistakes are okay. They're part of the journey. It's not that you made a mistake that matters. What matters is what do you do with it? What do you do with the failure? Do you learn from it? Do you make it right? Do you grow from it? Okay, making it right. Growing from it without making it right is not. You got to make it right to the people that you wrong. You have to. All right, that's it. Like, subscribe, comment down below. See you in the next one.